Welcome back. We will have Ben on the screen here in a moment on Zoom. To my right, on your left, is his daughter, Gail Lesser Gerber. To her left is Ann Raskin, one of the co-producers of the film, and Lane Palmer at the end. So I think Ben's coming up on the screen. All right, I will go ahead and get started. Most of the questions are to Ben, but again, you're welcome to also ask questions to anybody on stage. Ben, what would you tell this upcoming generation to use in their daily lives?
Yes, love against hate. I would like to see them be loving students, whether it's at work or in home, and love their parents and their friends. Because the Nazis did not start with killing. It all started with hate. Hate propaganda, that's how it began. So the hatred has to stop.
Thank you. The next question is, when did you first start to understand what was happening during the Holocaust? And do you believe there could have been actions after that to prevent it from happening?
No, I was too young. I was only almost 11 years old when the war broke out. And right afterwards, things were starting to happen. Just so you can ask those questions from an adult who was an adult at the time of when the Holocaust began, but I was too young. I didn't understand what's happening.
Thank you. How were you able to forgive your perpetrators and still live a life that matters and not be haunted by what happened or hold hate in your heart?
I never forgave the perpetrators. To this day, I hate them. But I can't blame their children or grandchildren. It's not their fault that their parents were Holocaust perpetrators.
Thank you. How did you find your sister Lola when you arrived to America?
It's a long story, though. I was going to Palestine. I was chosen Aliyah Bet. I don't know if you know that. Underground. Going to Palestine. And one of our lady friends that also was chosen to go to Palestine, took sick. When she took sick, they took her to the hospital. And before I boarded the ship, I wanted to say goodbye to her and assure her that we'll not forget her. If she gets well, when she gets well, we'll come pick her up. So I went back to St. Tertullian, which was a hospital then, and I found her laying in bed. I was sitting on her bed facing her for 2 hours. We had to wait for a bus to take us out. And my friend was sitting on a chair next to me, and we were talking. I didn't pay attention to any of these women in the hospital room, but this one woman paid attention to me. And after I left, she says, "Rachel, who was this young man with his wavy black hair? He reminds me so much of my brothers." She says, "Oh, his name is Benjamin." And that's when she says, "Well, my brother's name was Ben or Benek." Yes. You happen to have a picture of him. And she had a picture of 10 of us who were chosen to go to Palestine. And my sister looks at it and she screams out, "It's my brother, he's alive. Ben, he's alive, he's alive." Neither one of us knew that the other one survived. And imagine we were 2 feet apart, one bed to the next bed for 2 hours. And I left, and I'm now going to Palestine, and we're boarding ship. When I found out that my sister Lola is alive in a hospital dying, and her dying wish is to see her brother. Well, so I didn't board ship. I left the group and I went back to the hospital, and this is how we met, actually. It was quite a reunion, believe me. And my sister was pregnant. She was in her 8th month and expecting a baby. Well, 2 weeks later, she gave birth to my nephew, and our family started to grow again. Now I had my sister, my nephew, her husband, and I. There were 4 of us. This is how our family began.
Thank you. Can you tell the group a little bit about your story starting in Poland, since that wasn't introduced in the film?
Okay. I lived in Krakow, in a beautiful city, Krakow. And one day, the buildings that we lived in was a 3-story apartment house building on a major thoroughfare. One day, the whole building started to shake and rattle. So I ran to the window to see what's happening, and I saw tanks were rolling down the street. And following the tanks, there were half-tracks. And every few steps, a soldier would jump out of the half-track, get on the sidewalk, and this is how they occupied the city. There was no fighting. And following the half-tracks, they were the Wehrmacht, this foot soldier with their shiny black boots and their goose steps. It was quite impressionable for a 10-and-a-half-year-old.
Thank you. This is a question for Gail. What was it like having a survivor as a dad, and how did your parents meet?
Well, how my parents met is actually a very long story, and it's quite a beautiful story, and I might leave that to my dad. But growing up as a second generation, a child of a Holocaust survivor, My life was a little bit different than some of my other survivor children friends. My dad was young, and he really didn't have a childhood. So, and when he was 16, that's when he was liberated. So he missed his childhood. So growing up, my dad kind of relived his childhood through us, through my sister and I. We had our house was bright and windows were open. My dad married a California girl. And so our life was a little bit different than some of my other friends. Most of my friends were their parents, especially both their parents, were survivors or Eastern European. Their houses were very dark. The curtains were closed. You'd watch TV in the back room, the living rooms in the front of the house. They would never sit or enjoy time in there. It was dark, and their lifestyle was dark. I even had some friends where their parents sat on the schoolyard bench from kindergarten all the way through until graduating high school, where they would always be just within a few feet or a few hundred feet from their child, even when their child is grown up. But my life was very bright. Our windows were open, our curtains were there, and it was a beautiful childhood. My dad and I went on many roller coasters together. He would never miss a roller coaster. And just like me, I'm 67 right now. I really shouldn't be going on them, but I still do, and Dad still did for a long time also.
That's great. Ben, will you tell us the story of how you met your wife?
Oh, it's very interesting. Well, we came back from services. My friend and I was Friday night services.
Ben, I'm
Yeah.
going to interrupt real quick. Why don't you start real quick at living on Skid Row and how you got to meet her, from what you did?
That's a long story.
Make it a little
Okay.
shorter.
All right. I was completely penniless. We didn't have enough money. I say we, a friend of mine and I, we came out from New York to California, and we bound up on Skid Row on Main Street in Los Angeles. And we found a hotel, $1 a night. That was just about what we can afford. And we both tried to get a job. He was an upholsterer by trade, and I had no trade. Neither one of us could get a job. It was impossible in that year to get a job. That was in 1990.
1949, 1950? Oh, it's okay. Continue on. It's okay.
1939. 1939. Anyway, we ran out of $1 a night to pay for the rent. And we went to Clifton Cafeteria to eat, and we had to fill our pockets with food and pay for a cup of coffee. This one day I would do it, the other day my friend would do it. So we took enough food for the other one to live on. It's a long story, but anyway,
Why don't you start from having 30 cents in your pocket and going on the trolley?
Yeah, we had 30 cents in our pocket. It was Friday night, and I tell my friend, you know, I really feel like praying. We came here, we're away from everybody, and nothing is going right for us. I really feel like going to pray. So it was Friday night, and Friday night usually is where you have to go to pray. I found out that there's a Jewish what do you call it?
Synagogue.
A synagogue, but in a Jewish community in Boyle Heights. So we took the bus, and it was 20 cents of fare, and we only had 30 cents between us. So I remember the conductor coming up to me, and he wanted to punch a ticket. I pulled him aside and I told him the story. We only have 30 cents, and I'm sorry. It's matter life or death. We have to go to this community, go to the temple. So he only charged us for one of us. So we were left with the dime between us, and we were going to that community. Friday night, we see a man in a black hat, and we figured he's going to the temple. So we had the bus stop, this trolley stop, and let us off. He let us off, and we walked up to this man. He says, are you going to a temple? He says, yes, Rabbi Tarshish, they're down the street. A temple, but I forgot the name. Anyway, I says, can we follow you? He says, absolutely, come along. And anyway, we went to this temple, and the rabbi greets us at the door. You know, in Boyle Heights, you only saw old people going to the temple. The youngsters were already on the west side of town. Nobody was on the east side. So anyway, he was so surprised to see two young teenagers coming to services that he didn't know what to do with us. And he then, my friend happened to be a cantor. So he asked the rabbi if he could pray to the services and for the temple. The rabbi said he was a little surprised to hear a teenager ask that, but then my friend went up to the altar, and he started to pray and sing with such a power that everybody's eyes and ears popped up, and everyone was listening to every word he was saying, and then singing with everybody. And then at the end, when he finished, they all ran up to him and picked him up and danced with him like he was, because they never heard a young man with such a beautiful voice. He did have a beautiful voice. And the next morning, we asked the rabbi, can we lead the services again? He says, absolutely. And then next morning, we went to lead the services. Anyway, after the services, we go back to Frida's, and Frida had what do you call that?
Frida had a guest house, and that
Yeah.
night from the services, the boys had a place to stay. So they didn't have to go anywhere. They stayed at Frida's house. The next day, Frida put together a brunch.
She put it back. We didn't know that. But when we came from services, we come and we saw a couple with a beautiful young lady sitting there. And anyway, and my friend, he was speaking to everybody and keeping the conversations, and I happened to sit near Jean. So Jean and I sort of got off, and then after eating, we went to the couch and we sit down on the couch talking to each other. Anyway, it's a long story, but we fell in love.
They went on 3 dates.
But yeah, this is how it began. It was a beautiful story.
Yeah, they were engaged on their 3rd date. It was quite lovely. Sorry. Oh, Ben, I'm just going to ask one thing. Can you sit a little further back?
Yeah,
There you go. Okay.
all right.
Ben, will you tell us about your medal that you're wearing?
Yes, that is the a Medal of Honors that I got from Germany for teaching about the Holocaust. For the Zachor Holocaust Remembrance Foundation. Out of all places, I got this from the Chancellor of Germany for teaching not to forget the Holocaust. It was really a surprise.
Ben has got, the two of us together, we're privileged to go into the Black Forest area of Germany and go around to schools and speak to hundreds of students in Germany where most likely their grandparents or parents were perpetrators. And then to speak to it at a hall in the middle of Germany where people drove in for miles and miles late at night and stood in line for hours just to be able to shake his hand afterwards. There were over 400 people at this, and they were only expecting about 150. And this is from an area that there are no Jewish people. People don't know about Jewish people, but we're just like everybody else. And so it was an incredible experience for him to be in the classrooms talking to the students for about a week.
And I spoke in the hall where Hitler would speak, in the same hall.
Yeah. The Hall of Mirrors. That's right.
Yeah.
Ben, from what you remember, what gave you hope during your experience?
What did I vote?
Sorry, what gave you hope during your experience?
I always felt that somehow or another God is looking out for me. Because with all the things that happened to me, I should have been dead 25 times. Somehow I survived. So I felt that God was looking out for me. Now I know He was looking out for me because He needed a witness, someone who can talk about it. And this is why I started the Zachor Holocaust Remembrance Foundation to keep the memory alive.
you. How did you find hope in the face of such hate that has engulfed this country?
This country, this is America, my God. That's the country for the free, and I didn't experience anything in this country, nothing but good. I know there's a lot of evil going around, but this is what I'm doing. I'm telling him, I'm reminding the world to keep this world alive. I mean, to keep the memory alive. Do not forget the Holocaust. And teaching the Holocaust because there is some anti-Semitic incidents, all the more reason what I'm doing is so important. So very important.
I'm gonna I'm going to interrupt real quick and say that Ben almost preaches to students when he's in the classroom. He couldn't be here tonight because the elevation is too high for him, and the doctor told him he couldn't come. So that's why we have him on Zoom. But when he's in the classroom, he talks to the students about bullying, about hatred, about laughing at people that might be different. And he teaches that we are all alike. Whatever your beliefs, we're all human beings. We all, bleed the same. We all love our parents. We all love our children. And there's no reason that we should be treated different than anybody else, or anybody should treat anybody else different, whether you're somebody that has a disability or somebody from another country that you're not familiar with. We need much more acceptance in this world, and acceptance and tolerance. And what is also one of the things that he mentions a lot is that it's time again for the families to sit down around a table. And you younger students here that are here tonight should find out your family's history. Ask questions. Sit down with your grandparents. Just don't go to grandpa's house, grandparents' house, and sit there on your computer or your hand games. Get to know them. Ask questions, and that's one of our messages.
Along those lines, Ben, the students ask how they can stop hate and prevent another disaster like this from happening again.
Each individual student should do what they're supposed to do. Be a loving student and stop the hatred. And if he will do it, his friends will do it, and all the people around the children. But it starts with one. Hatred has to stop. So, love is contagious. If you smile at somebody, they'll smile back at you.
Thank you.
If we spread enough love, kindness, smiles, helping somebody, if we spread enough of that around, if we pay that forward, it will continue to pay forward and continue long after Ben is gone. Like was mentioned in the fantastic film that these two made. It's true. It's quite true. There's something called the golden rule, and do unto others as you would do unto yourself. treat yourself with respect. You do. Treat your friends and people that are different and your neighbors with respect. Learn about your differences.
Thank you. Ben, for those who feel like they are experiencing hatred against them, how and what advice can you give them to stay strong, to keep hope, and to be resilient while continuing to fight for their right to exist with dignity?
That's a very hard question to answer because when you know you're hated by someone, your whole life becomes worthless. You feel like it just isn't right. I know there are people hating people, but the only thing I can do is preach love instead of hate. That's all I can do. And somebody wants to hate me, I can give him a smile or something, but I can't help it. Can't help it.
If somebody is bullying you and showing hatred towards you, it's almost like we need to be strong and try to turn that person into our friend. Whether parents intervene or, but that's one of the beginnings. Find something that you might have in common with each other. And that might be one of the first steps towards, one less bully.
Thank you. And I think that we have tried to embody that at CMU with our civil discourse, which this presentation was made possible by the CMU Civic Forum, and understanding that we have to treat all others with dignity, and that when we make someone less than human, then we allow ourselves to be filled with hate. So I think we share really similar messages. As we're kind of nearing the end of our time, I want to ask Ben another question. What is some advice you would give to someone who's wanting to share your story but needs to learn more?
Do you understand the question?
I think so. Listen, somebody wants to know, can you explain to me what it means?
If somebody wants to be able to tell your story, but they want to learn more, what can they do?
They can come to me and I'll tell them more. I'll teach them more.
He's serious about that.
Yes, I am serious.
He's serious about that. Check out our website, zahorfoundation.org. We're a small foundation. We're mighty, and we do an awful lot. Ben speaks to hundreds of thousands of students a year. He's given out more than 1.5 million pins. Those are the listeners that we were personally in front of. He really makes a difference in people's lives, and he has made a website that's educational. So we have a curriculum on it by this wonderful woman that built the curriculum, our beautiful teacher and educator and filmmaker. And so come and visit our website. It's free. Just go on in. You could ask Ben questions on his AI, as you saw in the film. Everything is accessible, easy to get to, And when you go through the website, I want you to all shout out, okay?
Ben, can you tell us what I shout out means?
Well, we're looking for 6 million shout-outs to compensate for the 6 million silenced voices. And those shout-outs will remain on our website for generations to come. When you shout out, your shout out, you can even give us a picture. Your shout out with the picture will come out generations from now. Your great grandchildren will be able to hear what your shout out was all about.
Against bigotry, against hatred, to love thy neighbor, to, there's the list just goes on. So go visit it and shout out.
To the filmmakers, what made you want to create this film?
I'll let you go first.
No, I was going to let you go first, Lee.
Okay. So it kind of all started, I was actually going to school at Dixie State University in St. George, where I met Anne in one of our classes. And she was telling me about Ben. And I'd never met a Holocaust survivor before, but I love history, especially World War II history. And so I was like, I would love to meet Ben, a Holocaust survivor. And this was in 2018? Yeah, probably 18. And anyways, we went down and I met Ben and we started actually filming and talking to him. And I was like, we need to make a story, really a good film about Ben Lesser. And it just, then COVID hit a couple of years later. We were in school and it was just kind of crazy. But then a couple of years after COVID, it was probably 2021, I saw another video that Anne had sent me about Ben. And that's when it really hit. I was like, I need to, get with Anne and really finish this film so that Ben could see it. And that was the motivation behind my drive into, kind of helping get this film across the finish line. Is I really wanted to share this message with Ben. Even though it's Ben's message, I wanted him to be able to see it.
I will say that you've known Ben now for a little more than 70 minutes. I've known Ben for over 20 years. How could I not make a film about this man? He is extraordinary, more than that, and our love for Ben, we just want the world to know this firsthand experience. It empowers all of us. What he went through and what he achieved in his life, we can live a meaningful life, a life that matters. And so we are so honored we could do this for Ben. I think the greatest compliment I got about this film was from Ben at a film festival. Afterwards, he said, "Oh, this is going to go on and on and on, even if I'm not here." And that was the greatest compliment that I could have received about this film. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to say I am so grateful for the both of you for putting your heads together and making this magnificent film. It is really a legacy that will live on forever for our family, and we are forever grateful. And it's just so beautifully, beautifully done about my dad.
Thank you. Thank you.
To Lane, what is the thing that you learned the most from Ben?
Oh, the most. I think one of the biggest things, which I feel like I kind of knew before, but like it really emphasized, and that's what I really, while I was editing this, I really wanted to share choices. Your individual choices, big or small, they all matter, and that even if something or someone does something to you that is hurtful or hateful, if you could make the choice to be a better person, to reach out and actually choose to love them, and in many cases, it'll turn around where they will actually not have a reason to hate you. Like, don't let people have a reason to hate you. Even when they do, love them to the point where that they have to love you back, because I don't know, it's just hard to be hated if you're just a wonderful, happy person, even when negative things happen to you. And so I think the biggest thing that I learned from Ben was your individual choices matter, and you can always choose to love and to respect other people, no matter what situation you're in.
Thank you, Lane. It's beautiful.
And I know that you've been friends with Ben for over 20 years. Can you share maybe one of the things that stands out most to you about his story?
Can I talk to Ben because he's above my head? Okay. Hey, Ben. Let me just steady myself. Okay, Ben, you know, you said people have to have passion in their lives, and you've given me that passion to make this film, to spread your word, to let people know about Ben Lesser. I think the words that I always say about this film are serendipity, providence, beshert. It was meant to be, Ben. It was meant to be that you are here spreading your word to and love to the world. And I'm so honored that I could be a part of that with you, Ben. I love you so much.
And the feeling is mutual. I love you too. Anna and I, yeah, I love you, man.
Ben, sit back a little bit. Thank you.
What are you guys looking up on top?
Oh, up your nose.
Yeah, what are you looking up there?
Ben, one final question. Why do you place so much emphasis on educating children and educating people about what happened?
The main reason is to keep this world from acquiring amnesia. I don't want the world to forget. They would love to forget it. I keep reminding them. There is so much hatred going around in the world, and there's so few of us who preach love. So few of us in this world. And I hope I have the years to continue to do that for many, many more years.
And I want to guarantee for you, Dad, to know that your legacy will live on for generations. I will continue. Your granddaughter Robin will continue. She is she and I are the ones that run the foundation together. It's a family business, and we will continue until your great-great-grandchildren are also working it. Your legacy will live on, and I promise you that.
That's good to know, sweetheart. I love it. You made me feel better.
Well, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I especially want to thank Lane and Anne for making this beautiful film to share with us.
There's one more thing I'd like to say. Hitler and the Nazis did not start with killing. It all started with hate propaganda, and this is how it began. So the hatred has to stop. Hatred of any form. Why? Why hate? We have to stop this. You become a loving person. If hatred, there's no room for it in your life. Any hatred.
And I want to say one last thing. Everybody got a Zahor pin on your way in. Zahor means remember. It's a Hebrew word, remember. Wear this with pride, put it on a hat, put it on a backpack. We have people that say they still have it on their backpack from 30 years ago, or they gave it to their children already. Wear it when you go out to a special event that does commemorate the Holocaust. This is 80 years right now since liberation. This year is 80 years of commemoration of the Holocaust. And who would ever think that you're talking to somebody right now that lived through something that they did? People learn about the Holocaust and they think, you know, black and white pictures, this was generations ago. It wasn't. Look at Ben is still living. He's 96 years old. There are very few survivors alive today that have been on death trains, death marches in different camps. There are very few that could speak about the Holocaust. Most of them are gone. They're leaving us. So it is now your responsibility. With this pin goes along this with the story that you heard today. So please pay it forward. Please pass on the story you heard today. It will help make a difference in this world.
I also really want to sincerely thank Gail for coming out and facilitating this so that Ben could join us on Zoom, because it truly is amazing to still be able to interact live with a Holocaust survivor that did survive so much. So thank you, Gail. Thank you, Ben, for doing everything you've done to let everyone know what happened.
Okay. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. And don't stop. Please show my films over and over again. Anyone, you want the world, more and more people to know about it. It's simple. Maybe they'll learn something from that film.
Ben, I have one favor to ask you. Yesterday, Ben talked to the high school students at Grand Junction High School, and at the end, he led them together, holding hands. Will you lead this group together in the same way?
Okay. All right. Hold hands. Hold hands and repeat after me. Never again.
Never again.
Never again.
Never again.
Never again.
Never again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
You're welcome.
Everybody is standing. I don't know. You can't see them, but everybody is standing.
I see, I see. Thank you so much. Thank you. I love all of you.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us tonight. On the screen, as we close out with Ben, there will be a list of the speakers that are still presenting this week. We hope that you can join us for the rest of the Holocaust Awareness series. There's also a QR code here. If you would like to donate, whether it's $1 or $5, to help make it so that we can bring more impactful speakers and films like this to campus. This is how we support this, and this is how we make it happen. So this donation would go to the CMU Foundation to support this event. Thank you again for coming tonight. It means a lot to all of us that you're here. Thank you.